All right, so let's tackle this number 6 together here. First of all, I'll use my laser pointer. We can see a couple of things here. It talks about a fishing boat, a buoy, and a kayak in that order. And then it gives us 3 points, 1, 2, and 3. So that means the first point is the fishing boat. The second point is the buoy, so I've made them both in blue here. And the third point is the kayak. All right, so then what I did next was I plotted that 0, 0, that's the origin, is the fishing boat, and then the buoy and the kayak, and I labeled them in black here for what the ordered pair is for each of those. And so, yay. I drew the green lines between them, and you can see the triangle in question. The very big question is, do they form a right triangle? And we need to show our work for that. So is this green triangle a right triangle? It looks like maybe this could be a right angle here, but I don't know. So technically I probably shouldn't have even drawn that in there yet. It could be, but we don't know. So what I need to do is form this blue triangle first here. Let me back up. What I need to do is find out what is the length of this side here. I'm going to call it distance 1, D1, between the fishing boat and the buoy. And what is the length of D2? And what is the length of D3? If only I knew those 3 lengths, I could see if 1 squared plus the other squared was equal to the third squared. And that would help me answer my question. So that means we need to find what D1, D2, and D3 are. And the way I'm going to do that is by making a right triangle out of these lengths. I'm going to make each of these lengths the hypotenuse of a new right triangle that I know for sure is a right triangle, and that I know for sure what the legs are. So I knew that this distance here was 12 because this point here is at 0, 0 origin, and then the buoy was up 12. So I knew this distance was 12, and again, since this is the origin and the buoy was over 16, I knew that this distance was 16. So I've got a 12 and a 16 here, and I need to find D1. Similarly, for the D2 here, I knew that since this is the origin and then the kayak was down 5, I knew that this was a distance of 5. We'll just make it positive because distance is always positive. And the kayak is over 10, so that means this is a distance of 10, so I've got my 5 and my 10. And then lastly, for the purple triangle, I know that this must be 17 because the buoy is up 12 and the kayak is down 5. So 12 and 5 make 17 all together. So there's my 17. And I knew that the kayak was over 10, but the buoy was over 16. So if this is 10 and the whole distance is 16, then this little distance here, which is this leg that I care about, must be 6. So that's a whole setup to this question, which is a lot, that in and of itself. So if you need to pause it or think through that, feel free. But because I made all these right triangles myself, I know, oops, let me change my dot here. I know that these are all right angles here. 1, 2, 3, those are all right angles. And so I can use my Pythagorean theorem to go ahead and figure this out. So here we go. I'm going to set it up. The a squared plus b squared is c squared. I know that's true because I know it's a right triangle. So 12 squared is 144. 16 squared, I really should have memorized. I know it ends in a 6. Let's see, 16 times 16, 36, carry the 3, 6, 96. 1, so it's 256. That sounds right. And when I add those together, I get 400. Yep. So I know that's all equal to c squared. And in this case, I'm not calling it c squared, I'm calling it d1. So that's equal to d1 squared. If d1 squared is 400, then I can go ahead and take the square root of both sides. And then that means that D1 itself is equal to 20, plus or minus 20, but I'm just going to keep it as 20 because it's a distance. So I'm just going to keep the positive. So that distance there, that hypotenuse, it looks like, is 20. All right, going to carry on, and I'm going to do the purple triangle next. I'm going to say 6 squared plus 17 squared has got to be equal to this distance, which I'm calling D3. So that's equal to D3 squared. Don't worry too much about this 3 here. Don't think about combining the 3 and the 2 to make 5 or 6 or anything. It's just notation. 6 squared is 36. 17 squared, I know ends in a 9. That's another one I should have memorized, but here we go. So 119, that's 119 plus 17 is 189. And that's equal to D3 squared. So I'm going to add these together. 15, carry the 1. Oh, yeah. So 225, I know that that's a perfect square. So when I go ahead and take the square root of both sides here, I get that D3 is equal to 15. Cool. So that means this distance here is 15. Yay, good to know. I got 20 and 15. All right, let's go ahead and see what D2 is. Okay. For D2, I have that 5 squared plus 10 squared is equal to D2 squared. So 25 plus 100 is equal to D2 squared. So 125, this is not looking so good right now. My little spidey sense says this is not looking good. We'll see what's going to happen. Take the square to both sides because D2 is 125 is not a perfect square. So I'm just going to double check my work, make sure I don't make any mistakes. But yeah, 125 is not a perfect square. So I know 12 squared is 144. I know 11 squared is 121. So this is going to be the square root of 125, which is a little more than 11. I'll guess 11.2 for the time being. But that is not going to be very pretty. That's all right, whatever. I'll leave it as 125 for now. I don't need to approximate it. And for here, I'm going to write D2 equals the square root of 125. So, darn it anyway, I was really excited. I was really hoping this was a perfect square, or this was a perfect right triangle, but I can tell it's not going to be. So let me just check something real quick. Yeah. All right, so lastly here, I know that this is the square root of 125. I know this one's 20 and this one's 15. 20 is the longest out of all 3 of those, so 20 is my C. So I'm going to see, is it true that 15 squared plus the square root of 125 squared is equal to 20 squared? I don't know if that's true, so I'm going to put a question mark above it. So 15 squared is 225. 125 square root squared is actually just 125 itself. And 20 squared is 400. So on the left, we end up getting 350. Don't know if this is true, so I'll keep my question mark. And 350 is not equal to 400. So what that means is this is definitely a triangle here, obviously, but it is not a right triangle. And that is my conclusion. All of that work, all of showing my work to prove that it is not a right triangle. All right, and there we have it.